Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Martin,
Here.
Director Adams is absent, Director Brown is absent, Director Clayton,
Here.
Director Gott.
Here. Thank you, Allison. Moving on to item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held October 9th, 2025.
I'll review one, accept it, and say we adopt and.
Yeah, I have a motion to adopt. Second.
This is October 9th. This is the meeting that both you and I were absent. So I abstained last time. I negotiated saying, yeah,
I'll allow you to stay with that.
yeah, we'll have to continue that.
Yep.
But we can go to the meeting of October 23rd.
Nice. So moving on to item number 2, minutes of the regular meeting held October 23rd, 2025.
I've reviewed those minutes and I move that we accept the minutes as presented for the October 23rd meeting.
We have a motion to accept the minutes.
I was there at that meeting as well. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 3, committee reports.
Please, Larry.
Sure.
Place.
Yes, Mr. President, your financial committee met on the 24th of October with our, with Mead Hunt, our air service consultant, to discuss the status of American Airlines service. On the 27th of October, your real estate committee met to discuss specific plan and its update. That's led to why our guest is here today to present to you. And on the 28th, the financial committee met with Advanced Aviation, a marketing firm selling air service, and discussed airline marketing. And then on November 6th, your executive committee met to set this agenda.
All right. Any questions before we go?
Not for me.
Moving on to item number 4, general manager report.
So the FAA, well, short notice, asked for a ACIP meeting or for capital improvement plan meeting. We were planning to actually drive up to LA, but they said no need. You can just line mine. We want to expedite. So we did that. So we, our engineers were on the call, so we have plan moving forward for our next set of project. We anticipate, as we've discussed, that we will not proceed with any further runway work at this time, and we'll focus on the next phase of taxiway, which is in great need of attention. Runway project it's still ongoing, still open, but the hard part's all done. It's all grooved and painted. There's just some punch list items, some change order stuff that's being considered. But for the most part, we had a good project, and it's open.
Awesome.
So customs, the last word I got was that we will hand it over to CBP on December 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then they'll start recruiting. So about the right timing, as we plan to attend some NBA meetings for international operators and dispatchers, which will be in March. So it's probably about the time they'll have somebody present. Solo projects coming along as planned. Tomorrow there is a breach roundtable here in town. I believe these guys will be one of the speakers. So it starts at 10. I think it's like 10 to 1 or 2, something like that.
It's 10 to 12 and 9:30 is meet and greet. Yeah, coffee before the 10 o'clock.
So, and then next week, on Tuesday, is the Econ Alliance Tourism Luncheon. And Jim Bray from the museum will be speaking about the museum. So this will be focused, because it's tourism, and focus on the museums in North County. We've received the Brent study and an outline of the fee study. I'm considering it in draft, so that's why I'm not presenting it today. I think there's some work to do, some conversation that needs to happen about where you all want to go with that. So it's a work in progress, and that's all I have.
May I ask a question, Martin? The REACH meeting tomorrow, will you be in attendance?
Yes, I'll come.
Okay, thank you, because you saw Chris will be there.
Yep.
Okay.
The American Airlines, how are we doing on the
It is,
percentage wise?
it's less than what we want,
Less than 50%?
yes.
And how is the advertisement, we like the full bill advertisement,
The marketing meeting that was held with your subcommittee addressed that and moved budget up into what was planned for next year, and it's gonna be spent this year. So we're ramping up the marketing effort. So,
I don't know if this is defined, but also contacted the Chamber of Commerce. And they put multiple LinkedIn advertisements, and they have sent out multiple email blasts to all the business people that are part of their directory. So over the last week, they've done a lot. I know it's taken a long time, but over the last week, we've gotten a lot from the Chamber of Commerce.
the projections for advanced sales appear to me that every month gains. So it's moving in the right direction. It's just not where we want to be, which is 80% would be awesome.
We've also only had it for a month. So it's gonna take some time for adoption.
But that's also one of the reasons why I was asked to speak at the REACH event tomorrow to talk about the American Airlines twice a day service that will take you from Santa Maria to anywhere in the world.
Which is great. Wait, it opens up the whole seaboard over here on this side to us, to be going east into the world. It's perfect. Everybody just needs to know that, and then I think we get, and then when you say free parking, it's like all their vehicles turn instantly toward your lot. They just start driving toward the lot. I mean, it's just, the car does it on its own. So it's like, man, we just gotta get that word out. And you said you were in the airlines somewhere in San Luis, and you told everybody on the air, you had 4 or 5 people walking off the plane. I wish I'd have booked it there.
All right.
We gotta get the word out, and if it keeps growing, like you say, we're picking up, boy, if we could pick up and get back up there, it would be just great. And it's gonna cost us in the short run to get there. But if we can maintain that and do well, then, we're gonna be able to get more airlines in here, right behind that one, I bet.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 5, finance report.
The staff would request that you approve the demand register.
I reviewed the demand register and I made the motion and accepted it.
I'll second.
I have a discussion question before approval. I have a question. So we have the monies that are paid to Granite Construction, and we also have the money that are paid to Tartaglia. And I know that they're for the same purpose. I'm just kind of curious why we break out to 2 different amounts. Why it wasn't just all paid to one or the other.
There's 2 different contracts.
Okay. All part of the same project with the 2 different contracts. Okay.
This is checks being sent to people.
Yeah.
Contract with Tartaglia and a contract with Granite.
Yeah, I was just curious because I know the overall budget, because we approved the overall budget. I just didn't realize how it was going to be separated out to the various contractors. Okay.
So I'll go into the plan. sir.
It's all part of the plan. Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anything else on finance before we go?
No, sir.
Moving on to item number 6, public session. Statements from the floor will be heard during public session. Request to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests regarding board action will be referred to the tab of the agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the offices of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for received testimony, in this case 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limit for received testimony. With that being said, I don't have any requests to speak forms, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to item number 7, presentation by Eric Justison, our design group, discussing the status of the Santa Maria Public Airport District Business Park specific plan. Luana?
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Eric Justison with RRM Design Group, and I know most of you up there. I just met you tonight, Mr. Clayton, so a pleasure. Been working with your district since, well, really since about 2019 on the specific plan is 2021. What in the last few months, we have submitted the specific plan to the city and been going through rounds of revisions and comments with the city staff on it. And part of that has been to connect with the real estate committee, which is Chuck and Steve and Tom Ross and Martin and his staff on what's really been going on. And they suggested that I come down and just give a little bit more of a thorough update status report on sort of where we started, why it got going, and what the plan contains in broad strokes and where we expect it to go. So that's what I'm prepared to do tonight. If that's okay. Take a little bit of time just to sort of walk through the process that we've been going through, so to give you a little bit more context. Now, some of this might be a little bit redundant because you know your airport district very well, and of course you know what you have on the books. Is there So bear with me here. I have a few maps, some diagrams from the plan, and the like on the slide. So just reset on orientation, the area that's in brown there is essentially the specific plan area. There's more land in the yellow. You can see sort of the yellow outline. Some additional properties have been added through the Fish and Wildlife settlement process to the, I guess, sort of to the west of the property. This is it a little bit closer on an aerial, so you can see it's the area straight along Orchid Expressway from Skyway down to Union Valley Parkway, and then west all the way out past Blosser, and then including some of the area that previously was designated as a golf course, and now, of course, is subjected to the conservation agreement that you went into with Fish and Wildlife.
So Eric, just for my edification.
Yeah.
Then all of the area that was once upon a time designated as a golf course, that's all gone.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, get to that in 1 second. So the entire area now we have within the plan area is about 754, 755 acres. It's grown a little bit from what the previous plan was. The previous plan was about 730 some, I think. I have a stat on that. And really that's because west of the plan area, we added some habitat area that Fish and Wildlife wanted to conserve, and it just became easy to make it a part of the plan. We began with the end in mind with the district board, and at that time Chris Haster was here, but we asked, what do you want to do? What's the main goal for the airport district, and updating the plan? And I've highlighted a couple of things in red. number one, you really wanted to have flexibility in the way the plan was working so that you could entertain and be ready for different development interest in the future. We wanted to have some degree of flexibility, meaning a pretty good range of uses that are allowed, a processing strategy in the plan that allowed staff to make interpretations and make minor adjustments to the plan as we went along, and to streamline the process of this such that you have a shorter time frame between when an applicant came in and when buildings went up. It was really a readiness goal of the airport. Remember, the old plan, or the plan that's in existence now that we're updating, was adopted in 2008. So it was adopted on the eve of a Great Recession, and everything kind of stopped. So literally zero development happened under that plan in the 20 some years that it was or 19 years it was in existence. So we spent considerable amount of time working with the city to try to create a document that had enough specificity in it such that staff would be able to take projects through without every project having to go to the planning commission as things are now. So this is a bit of a departure for the city. Pretty much every project that they have now goes to the planning commission, unless it's a TI or something like that. So we're really trying to get this aligned with an expedient and streamlined process that the city is supporting and that you guys wanted to do. Some other goals were to figure out the drainage system. In the old plan, there was a significant amount of area that was dedicated to regional drainage basins. And so we've worked with the county of Santa Barbara Flood Control and the city's engineering department to make that a little bit more efficient. And then we've looked for ways that we could improve the land use classifications and zoning. That's really been kind of the main sticking point, I think, for the plan in the past. So those were set up early, and we worked with the city staff. We probably met with them, 6 to 8 times during this process we've gone through. We've come back to the real estate committee and to the district for check-ins along the way. And so I feel like at this point we've been consistently and well coordinated with the city. Remember, they launched their general plan update also right around the same time that the specific plan started. So we've been working with them to sort of make sure that this specific plan was aligned with the general plan update. Tonight, in fact, they're over, I think, at the library having a general plan update intake, meeting on comments that have been filed. So we've also been very involved in the general plan update and really advocating for policies that support what you want to do here in the airport. I will say, currently the current city administration is, I think, really kind of aligned better with what you want to do than maybe past administrations have been. So I feel that that's been a big benefit. Our experience working with city manager and the community development director lately in the last year or so since they've been onboarded has been great. They're very proactive. They're economic development oriented, business friendly, and so I have a lot of hope and expectation that this is going to go pretty well in the next year or so as this makes its way through the final process. Back here. So the current plan is in the upper right hand corner, and you can see that there's one of the things that was really, I think, out of step with the demand in the marketplace in general was this golf course. I'm not sure where that came from, but at the time, what was conceived out here was a business park golf course oriented, sort of environment. And the golf course did a couple of things. It handled the fish and wildlife issue on the habitat and handled the drainage issues that were, prevalent in the area. What it missed though is that no one builds business park golf courses anymore, and they're very expensive and they're hard to maintain. So it became a bit of an albatross for the land use out here. So the most significant thing to change with eliminating the golf course, there was no interest on the airport board anymore for that. And to really streamline, fix some of the land use and zoning that was in the old plan. On the left, you can see this is the new plan and land uses. It's about 300 acres of development area in the blue and red. And in the green area, that's about 380 acres or so of habitat conservation area that was set aside in that agreement. That agreement really freed up everything from the purple line at Blosser Road all the way over to 135. So largely you've got this great consolidated area of land that'll be zoned with two basic zoning districts. One is a business park services, that's the blue, and an airport commercial zone, and that is the red.
Eric, before you leave that
Sure.
slide, the section that's in blue, that's LI next to the county facilities, what is that section?
That actually is a typo on this map. It would be business park services as well.
Okay, so it's BPS,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. And so in that, it's essentially sort of an expanded manufacturing light industrial R&D zone. It's super broad in what you can do to it. We try to just make it very flexible and be able to accommodate a huge number of potential uses that you might identify in the future, going back to that goal of being development ready.
Okay, thank you.
This is the circulation plan, sort of structure of it. The idea is to use mostly the streets and improve the streets that are out there. So you'll see that Foster Road is a key link to the area, Union Valley Parkway on the south, and then Blosser Road over on the left-hand side of the blue road. You'll see Mitchell, California, kind of coming off of Foster Road. And then the two new roads are Foxenwood that goes north from Foster Road up to Skyway. That's kind of that straight north up and down on the right-hand side that parallels 135. And then there's a east-west route, it's called Innovation Drive, that goes from this Foxenwood over to Blosser. Those are kind of the two main new roads for the area. I want to highlight that we do not have an intersection at Highway 135 where that new road intersects with Foxenwood, because in our early work with Caltrans and the previous traffic engineer that we were working with, we were told in no uncertain terms, the city and us, that Caltrans was not going to allow a new intersection along 135. They're very protective of that right of way. They do not want another intersection there. If one happens, so we decided we were not going to show it in the plan because we did not want the plan to get sabotaged by having that intersection in it and delay the process. Our suggestion is at some time in the future, after this is adopted, to work with the city, work with Caltrans, go back in and see if you can begin a long-term process to establish another point of access there. But in the meantime, you have a plan that's adopted, that's ready to go, and you're working with. So it's a little bit of the short term, the short game, and the long game on that intersection. So I want to make sure you knew why that's not proposed in here, because it's just sort of logical that you would have another mid connection at 135 between Foster Road and Skyway.
Okay, now curiosity, where Foxenwood and Union Valley are, where you've got the purple circle, is that, well, so that's just a new connection? Is that a traffic circle, or is that are you just identifying the intersection?
Identifying the intersection.
Okay.
Yeah, it will probably be a signal in the EIR that was done for storage and commercial center that's down
Yes.
there. At build out with the shopping center,
Yes, okay,
I think a signal is warranted there,
got it.
yeah.
So
Okay,
there's no problem with putting, the, one at the top circle there, the Skyway Drive, there's no problem with putting an intersection there? But on 135, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the city went ahead and put in a signal at the Skyway, I guess I would call it Skyway / Foxenwood, the new Foxenwood extension. So the signal's in, and we propose to connect directly to that.
beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So, you know, that, as you'll see, I've got a slide, I think, on the phasing of it. You'll see how that really opens up a significant amount of land right along 135. That's the next slide.
So we'll strip there.
Yeah, so not surprisingly, the phasing on this is pretty intuitive. Our goal is to, and it's not super cast in stone. It just says, look, it's likely that a first development that occurs out there is going to occur close to existing infrastructure. Because it's far less costly to, you know, tie into it rather than extend it deep into the plant. Now, having said that, you know, at least as long as I've been working on it, there's been, you know, pretty good interest at different points in big users coming in here and being, because they want to be close to the airport and maybe have access to your taxiway. So this does not exclude the possibility that you would get a big user that's interested and that would want to, you know, go way deep into the plant area where there's not quite as much infrastructure. And if that's the case, it's probably the best opportunity for the airport district to use a larger scale development to pull infrastructure and improve more of this area. But you'll see that, so we've got first phase along 135 with the Foxenwood extension. And then the second phase, you know, it's likely is everything just north of Foster, because you can come off of that. There's already sewer and water in that street. And then the third phase is kind of a little bit further out, that's adjacent to the airport and where the mobile home park is.
Can I just comment, correct me if I'm wrong, just where you have new road alignments, this is conceptual, essentially, and then the alignment actually might be different as a project appears.
Yes, yeah. For instance, there may be a, you know, different format or shaped, you know, development on the, you know, anywhere in the plan area, obviously. And the plan is written in such a way that you can just move a road a little bit, as long as it's connecting A to B and it's designed as a, you know, collector road or whatever. There's certainly flexibility to align the road to accommodate new development. That's the goal.
You'd have businesses on both sides of that street, then, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And new road going in on Foxenwood,
Yep.
because we own both sides of that road.
Yep, exactly right. Yeah, really, I think, well, clearly, you certainly are very well aware of the GP3 property, that 28 acres that's between Foster and UDP on Foxenwood. That's pretty far down the road on entitlements. And why? Because it's got great access, great visibility. There's already some infrastructure there. It's really kind of a more logical play. Now, having said that, but still not an insignificant amount of infrastructure that has to go in. And that's why it's sort of like bookending this and then filling in between it is probably the way this is going to go. So the next development will come along and you extend the street down, you know, another 300 feet or 300, 400 feet, and then the next kind of until you get it completed. Just as a comparison, the existing specific plan, like I said, is slightly smaller in size, and with slightly less ultimate potential build out, about 3 million square feet. The update is slightly larger in overall acres, partly because we added that habitat area. And the build out's just a little bit higher at 3.45 million. Now, as a note, the actual build out is larger than that, but because of the environmental review process that's coming up, we just said we would assume that about 80% of the plan would build out, because the environmental process, if you over plan, or you have too much development potential in the plan area, it increases the size of utilities and infrastructure and roads on and off-site impacts for the environmental review process, when it's generally not realistic that every single square foot is going to build out per plan, right? So we pulled about 20% of the development potential out for the project description. Meaning that the actual plan with the FAR that we have, that's the floor area ratio on the commercial side, is a little over 4 million square feet overall. A pretty significant development area.
Is that just for the red area or all three of those areas?
That's all three of those areas, Mr. Clayton. Yeah. It's a little bit, this one's a little tough. You have the handout there, but you can see there's about 283 net acres of between the light industrial or the business park services zone that's on the top, and then the airport commercial services zone. There's about 370 acres of between the park and the conservation area that was set aside for mitigation. And then out of the development area, we pulled out sort of the road system at about 10%, the stormwater retention, because we've got to allocate space for retaining water and doing water quality treatment on all the sites. So that's another 100 acres there for a total of 754. So you have like a very good amount of total acreage at about 283 net of the local streets and drainage areas. So just to highlight, the business park services is sort of a combination of business park and commercial service, or commercial service zones. We use the city's kind of existing zoning categories to put those together, which is what a specific plan allows you to do. You can write your own kind of zoning code for this area, which is what we did. So this is a very specific zone for the airport district that does not exist anywhere else in the city. Broadly, it's targeting light manufacturing, aeronautics, warehousing, R&D, spaces that could accommodate any number of different, aerospace or ag tech or anything along those lines. We're trying to open this area up to those users ultimately. It also has some support services like this basic office space, headquarter offices for businesses, financial, medical labs, R&D labs, and then other services that would kind of help be needed to support those other larger users that are out there. This is a abbreviated list, but a pretty broad set of uses. In the airport commercial, that's the red zone on that map that I previously showed you. That's really more of a retail, kind of retail services district. Like I would make it most similar to the general commercials district that the city has. So you could have, the grocery stores, home improvement stores, home furnishings, restaurants, gas stations, just go through, you think of the things that you would probably find along the highway corridor, and that's what we put in that.
So Eric, it would be similar to what we did Enos Ranch along Betteravia, that whole project.
Exactly.
So we could envision something similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. The plan, it's got a lot of different elements to it. These are all identified in the California policies that guide specific plans. And so we have a section on land use zoning, development standards, conservation, open space. There's some sort of guiding principles and vision statements in there. design guidelines, the circulation and transportation section, all the infrastructure, public services. And one part of the plan that it'd be interesting for you to read is this funding and financing strategy. We did a specific plan around that contract and to hire a guy named Roger Dale, who we worked with for a long time to write that section of the plan. But essentially it's like the mechanisms and the strategies to fund infrastructure out here and to finance some of the improvements that need to be made. And other aspects of actually working with the local municipalities and state and fed agencies to get money to help improve the area. And, you remember that the city recently, I think, adopted a couple of resolutions for the city to join the BOLD program, which is the California Infrastructure Financing District, that will help developers issue bonds to finance some of the public improvements to the bond program. And then an implementation chapter of the plan that sets out sort of how projects get processed, how the plan is amended. And that's where this flexibility and streamlining really comes in. I'll tell you a little, this kind of an interesting meeting we had with the new community development director. We described the goals of the plan and that the airport's very interested in being able to streamline development, make this more development ready, and that the key ingredient in economic development is speed. The faster you get from a plan to in the ground, there's less carrying cost on land. You sort of minimize some of the cost escalation in a long process, et cetera, and so forth. She came from Lancaster and has kind of got an economic development background. And we said, well, we'd like to shoot for having about 50% of this whole plan area build out be handled administratively, meaning it would be essentially staff reviewing an application, determining that it's consistent with the provisions of the plan, and being able to administratively approve what's already been set forth in the plan, because they'll find consistency with it. And she goes, wow, I think your estimate is a little bit off. We're hoping that about 80% of the projects that come forward can be handled administratively. If you really want to streamline it.
Wow, we like that.
I thought, now that's a partnership starting to form between, this airport district and the city. But that's what I mean about, I think there's a little bit of a new mentality, the city on how to help things get going a little quicker.
Was it Shannon you were talking to?
Yeah, yeah. So, we were celebrated that and thought, well, that's really a great sign. And I know that they're very much noticed this on other projects that we've worked on. They're just a little bit more responsive, a little more flexible in the last year or so. So that's pretty cool.
Since they've hired Shannon. It's true.
Kind of covered this already, but I will say this now, while they are supportive of this idea of streamlining and having more of the applications and the future projects go through an administrative process, there's a bit of a catch to that, and that is they want the plan to be really detailed out, right? They want to be able to look at an application and compare it to objective design guidelines and standards, performance standards, so that they know that application is going to perform the way the specific plan talks about. So that's a little bit more effort on the front end. I think it's a really worthy investment to make in the plan and at the outset to kind of beef it up a little bit, so to speak, to give it the additional performance standards, design guidelines, and metrics in the plan, because I think it'll pay off in the long run with streamlining on the administrative side. So that is what is sort of on the deck for us now. We got that feedback from the city, a few months ago, and have been working on kind of doing some more additional work to the plan itself. Let me just touch on CEQA. It's the California Environmental Quality Act, which applies to projects like this. Martin will remember this. We went to the city several times to ask if the city would build this specific plan update project into their general plan and sort of use the general plan EIR as sort of the environmental document, or at least some of the environmental document for the project. Because it's an expensive thing to do in EIR, and we wanted to get some leverage off of that. The city, and we asked probably a few times over the years, the city was not willing to do that. They felt like their general plan was too far down the road. They had it, described, and they wanted this area to have its own environmental review. Now, having said that, when the G3 project came in, that's the 28 acres down by Foster and UDP, a new EIR was done for that area. Probably remember that in 2001. And what they're proposing to do is just using that as the basis. They'll tear off that EIR that was just done in 2021 for the specific plan area. I think that will be more streamlined. I think it could be less costly, and I think the city is genuine in its effort to try to minimize time and minimize cost for the district. So I have some hopes. I talked to Dana Beatty about that and to Shannon, and that seems to be the direction they're going to take. We'll see when they scope it, what that looks like, but that is a process that comes after this. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of where we're at. So we submitted the draft in July, got comments back, and met with the city staff from July to, I guess about maybe a month ago. And in the last bit, we've been working on revisions to the plan, as I've described to you. And I think we'll be ready to get this back in December to the city. I imagine we're going to get some additional comments. It's very rare that you go through one round and you're done. So I think we're going to get some additional comments in February. There's a process in which the city has to actually say, we take in your application, we deem it a complete application, and we're now going to process it. Meaning we'll begin to scope the EIR. So we think that's going to begin in the spring. And then I imagine it's about a year, could be less, but about a year for the EIR to get done and then go through the hearing process and certification of the EIR and make a decision on the project. So I wouldn't cast this in stone, but I think you're looking at about a year from April to have the specific plan updated and done. Now, concurrent development could happen with that process. You got an applicant coming in or you got an interest in some of your land that's generally consistent with the old plan, and there are areas that have that do allow retail and commercial in the current plan. We might be able to co-process a new application along with the specific plan itself. So I don't want to say you're kind of dead in the water till then, because things could happen. And we certainly kept our eye on that.
Well, Eric, did the city give you an idea of their update on their specific plan? Because they're trying to right now they're tying a lot of projects together, which is forcing them to happen faster, because the mayor is really hell-bent, or she's really excited about getting the specific plan updated for the city.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the general plan.
Or is it
it
the
was
general?
supposed to be approved by the end of this year, but it got extended 3 months, so they're thinking in March. Matter of fact, they're having that meeting I was watching just before this.
Yes.
Yeah, so they got 3 months, and they also have funding that they have to meet that deadline in order to get this funding that
Yes.
they're trying to get for part of that.
Yeah.
Which is helping to drive, which should help to drive this project, because they want this to be part of their plan,
Yeah.
don't they?
They
Because
don't.
want,
They don't want the specific
But
plan to be
it's-
part of the general plan. They intend to adopt their general plan this spring.
okay,
And then they will be processing the specific plan to come in after that, and then they will amend the general plan for this area. Which is, you know, a little bit of a, wish it were different.
Yeah.
And we asked them many times, and they were not necessarily willing to do that. I don't think it's the end of the world, I think it's okay, but would have been better.
Yeah, there's a couple other projects that I'm familiar with that, that the project teams are being pushed by the city of Santa Maria to perform faster. Because they wanted it, it's part of the plan, I guess.
Well, the one good thing Eric had mentioned, when the G3 project went in, they paid for and did an EIR, full blown EIR. And that's where Eric is saying, the city sounds like they're open after meeting with Dana
Okay,
Shannon to maybe use that as the guiding document to help with the EIR for the airport specific plan area. Which would, I mean, that's where they're really working with.
There are some areas on the east side, I don't know if that's maybe what you're hearing
no,
about.
what I'm referring to is on the north side of the airport, and it's all property that touches the airport property line, it's still Robinson property.
Hmm.
Robinson helicopter property, they're pushing those guys to perform faster.
Hmm.
Which they're obliged to do, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody loves a fast process, it means it costs less.
Eric, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Procedural question, for these steps. These were all done at staff level until the final approval. At what point does this project reach the city council?
Yeah, it'll go first to the planning commission on probably what they call a study session. I think that's not a hearing, it's just a time when you come in more informally and talk to the planning commission about the project and do a lot of like, I guess, an informal Q&A and presentation. Then it'll go to the planning commission for a hearing, and they'll refer it to the city council. City council is the ultimate deciding body for this, because you're talking about legislation.
But everything you just described in that final step,
Yes,
everything else before that is staff level.
correct. Now, like any good applicant, you know, we are gonna be meeting with the city council and probably with the planning commissioners, just to sort of, you know, you can have all kinds of non-Brown Act meetings with them, and they're willing to do that. So they have some familiarity with what's going on, and you build their knowledge and their sort of comfort with the plan as you go forward. So it's not the first time they're ever hearing about it when you get to a city council meeting. And you know, the good news is I think you've got at least a mayor for sure, and you've probably got a couple other council members that are really very keen on this area. When our market analyst and finance consultant did his work, he scheduled a whole bunch of interviews. I'm not sure if he talked to UNASH as the chair.
For city manager?
Certainly with Martin, we interviewed Melissa James at Reach and talked to all the city people. He probably had a dozen conversations. And I think when you look at that, there's an appendix in the plan that's called the, market, I think it's called the market demand and financing strategies. You'll see kind of he summarized all the input he got. It was super clear that to a person, everyone thinks this is the main play for head of household jobs for non-residential, industrial, commercial R&D, kind of development in the city. There's just no other place that's this consolidated. So, I think you've got great alignment politically in the city to do this. It's just a matter of you got to go through the steps.
What's your optimistic projections of when you think the approval could be completed?
I think sometime in the spring of 2027. Like I said, got to go through the EIR process, the public hearing process to get there.
And is that when we would need to pony up $3.5 million to be able to do this build out?
Well, there are a number of different scenarios that would come about. First of all, you get a plan in place, meaning you have updated zoning, an updated plan for the area, and you would be able to entertain land leases for different parts of it. One scenario that our economists laid out was an agreement with a master developer. Trouble is that, individual smaller developments have a pretty big lift to get the infrastructure in place. The city is not gonna be funding that. The airport district's not gonna fund it. And so it's gonna rely on, private sector to come in and figure out a financing strategy for extension and improvement of the infrastructure that's out there. Like I said, they could use this old program, which is the bond program the city joined with the state. There's a community facility district, which is a, property tax sort of funding strategy. It goes on to the property tax and gets paid through the, through the property tax bill. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. But a master developer, I think, you can get a big, and this is something that, Tom, you might want to talk more about that strategy. You get a large Prologis or big commercial industrial developer out here to do one agreement with the district. And then they kind of take over the entire development and phasing and infrastructure program according to the, what's in the plan and what users they can pull in. They probably have much, much deeper, better connections with big users in the industry than, maybe individual developers. So I know the chapter's not been written yet on exactly how this goes, but it's a playbook that allows a lot of different solutions, once you get the plan adopted. And it could easily be both of those things all at the same time. You have stuff like G3 happening, maybe something up at Skyway, and then you get another big user that's out kind of in the middle of the plan area that's doing work next to the airport. So it's hard to say exactly how that would roll out, but what's gotten in the way so far is you don't have, you have a golf course right in the middle of it. You can't really do a lease with a user because they don't have the proper structure. So that's been the game here, is to kind of reset the playing field on zoning and land use.
And you think by June of 2027, we'd be able to go into a building mode, because it'll all be approved?
You'd certainly be able to go into, and probably before that with leases, and, maybe you find a user now and they begin doing, plans, and by the time the plan is adopted, they come right back, they just chase that immediately and with an entitlement and, projects that come in.
Are you suggesting you're gonna help us to push this across the finish line?
Yes,
Who pays you?
you do.
I do damn well work to do across the finish line.
I appreciate it. And you've been great clients. Yeah, so myself and our firm will be the ones that take this to the final approval with you guys. And we will definitely, this is a partnership, we'll be working together to meet with our, electeds, and staff. You need a relationship like that to get it over the line. So sort of a team sport, but I'll be working as your lead planner and engineer on this, which I have been for the last almost 5 years.
Just don't retire before the project's done. Can you take care of it?
You know what, I'm gonna come in for this project. I did just step down as our CEO for the last 20 years
Yeah.
recently.
But don't step too far down.
But anyway, I hope that was okay and not like driving nuts with too much time, but just enough to kind of.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Helped me to understand a lot.
I appreciate the information, Stuart.
Martin, I shot you and Carrie, the PDF of the whole plan, so if you wanted to, send it over to your board.
It's on our program here.
Carrie already gave it.
Oh, you already
I've
figured.
been reading it off of my iPad rather than the screen.
I figured she's
on it.
You remember MASH, the sitcom MASH, you remember that, the character Radar?
Oh, yeah.
That's
That would be
That's
her.
Carrie.
That's Carrie.
She's a step ahead of us.
Yeah, she is. She lives in a project that we designed in Slow, and, She's a fan. All right, I'll just turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Don't go too far.
Okay.
You're the next time.
Thanks, Eric. Any further questions before moving on to item number 8?
No, great presentation, Eric. Thank you.
Well,
Thanks.
I hope that that goes through the way you just said it. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Moving on to item number 8, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the Fourth Amendment of Service Agreement between the district and RRM Design Group for the business park specific plan.
This gets back to Director Clayton's request for who pays for this. RM has requested additional funding of $85,000 to continue to work on this project. There's additional service authorization memo that Eric provided to you all that explains and justifies their need for this additional money. I don't think we're, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, I don't think we're hard pressed like this has to happen right this second. Sure, we're getting ahead of it. And unless Eric feels differently, if you wanted to wait for your full board to be here and think about this and make sure you're making the right decision, I don't think you're under any pressure that would prevent you from doing that.
Well, Martin, if we could ask you, you would vote for this, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd act right now. That's what I want you to feel pressure.
I won't vote without the real estate committee here to share with me their opinion. So I would not vote for it. I want these other two guys to be bought into it as well.
It sounds like we don't have a quorum, so.
That's fine, right, Eric?
Yeah, that's fine.
It'll
I'm
still
happy to
come.
share a little bit of what's the driver of that.
Sure.
If it's okay. then,
Sure.
It's what I've shared with Martin and what I've shared with real estate committee. So when we contracted in 2021, in August 2021, and we're updating a plan. And the current staff of the city was not there, and our strategies that have evolved over the years to streamline this, to create a document that's really has a lot of horsepower on its own, so that subsequent projects can get approved administratively, has kind of evolved along the way. Like I said, it takes more effort to do that. So the reason for the budget update is we have gotten 2 amendments or 3 amendments to the plan, to this scope. The first one was for, what happened was the traffic engineer that the district had hired before Martin was here didn't work out. They just did not complete their work, and we took that work on it. So we got a budget adjustment to kind of take over midstream from them. That was Kinley Horn. We finished the circulation element essentially from them. Part of that also was bringing on Roger Dale for the market and demand study and the funding and financing strategy. That was $15,000. So there's a $65,000 budget adjustment for those 2 reasons. It's just additional work that we hadn't contemplated in the original scope. The second amendment was to do a parcel map for the G3 area, which we discovered after talking to the city and our surveying group wasn't necessary. So we got a budget adjustment for 15 grand, I think, or a little bit more than that, for a parcel map that we sorted out that we could just do it through an escrow, and you didn't need a map to transfer real property. So those are 2. So this is the third one. And the reason for it is for the additional detailing and doing the design guidelines, objective design guidelines, which is a lot more work. Development standards that are more detailed, and then performance standards, so that the city can really judge if a project meets the intent and goal of the specific plan, and therefore have a better chance at processing more of these administratively. We have still a year to go. We got to meet with council members, and we've got all the coordination on the EIR, public hearings, meeting with staff and you guys. So it's about 85 grand for us to do that over the next year or so. So that really is additional services to us. The previous 2 were not necessarily, because we were just taking on more work that somebody didn't perform and hired a third party to do the economics. So that's sort of the gist of it is written up in our additional services request. And, yeah, so to your point, you're waiting on it, that's fine. I don't know what your meeting schedule is like, if you're meeting in December.
You know,
We have one meeting in December.
Do you? So I would just ask if you can, get it on that calendar item, and we'll just keep going, knowing that you're going to
Sure.
take a look at it. I think, the real estate committee seemed supportive when we met with them. So we'll just keep rolling on that, and hopefully you'll get it done in December when you get the full.
Well, I'm gonna say yes, so you got my vote.
Okay.
You're gonna keep going.
Thank you.
Get done. That would be nice, it's been years sitting there,
Yeah,
20 years or more, right?
well, I mean,
I
ever
saw
since the
minutes.
district was here, it never has been developed, so.
Yeah.
I saw meeting minutes that had, I'm going to wire and read all this stuff from the eighties, talking about this golf course. And it didn't look like a new idea.
Yeah, she weren't even born.
It's not.
So let's do it now.
With that being said, Tony, would you like to still uphold on the vote, or?
Well, because two of the 5 members that on the board are the real estate committee, and they're both not here. I don't feel comfortable voting on it until I hear their input, because they've been dealing with this for, well, at least a year.
Sure.
They've been on the committee for at least a year, so I just want to hear their comments. It doesn't mean I'm gonna vote no, it just means that, in all fairness to the real estate committee, I think they need to, it's their duty to share with us their opinion.
Okay, understood. In that case, we'll go ahead and table this for the next meeting. And we'll go ahead and move on to item number 9. Authorization for the president and secretary to execute the 18th amendment of service agreement between the district and Raymond Heath.
Ray was a district employee. And, now he works part-time, he's been working part-time for probably 20 years. He does AutoCAD, he knows where everything's buried.
Okay.
So he's very useful, very helpful. And Rick said, quit if you guys didn't approve this. I would strongly urge your approval of, this amendment, to this contract.
I've reviewed the contract and I make a motion to accept it.
How much more is it? I mean, what is it?
It's just a continuation of what is current hourly rates, and I don't have it in front of me.
It's in there.
I guess computers and stuff.
No, I don't see it, I don't see the amendment here, I don't see the contract.
Let's see, we might.
He's our computer tech guy.
Well, he was, more like a engineering tech kind of guy. Does a lot of AutoCAD. So. You guys
It's right
approve
here.
this
There
every
was
year.
department on this.
Is it in the packet? Is it on?
It was in our demand registry. Ray Heath. Consulting service contingencies, $2,575.20.
It's all based on the amount of time he actually works. So if he's not working, he's not getting paid. Up to a maximum of 20 hours.
Thank you, so, you made a motion, I second it.
You have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to item number 10, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the outdoor storage lease agreement between the district and the Sum of My Arts LLC.
This, you've seen a number of these same, outside storage leases. It's in the same area on the south side. Place to place a Connex box so they can store their stuff.
All these leases continue to have that stipulation that rates may change as soon as we move in.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve it.
we have a motion, do I hear a second?
I second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Thank you for providing the map, it helped me to understand.
I'll take credit for it.
Was Ray the one that made it?
The map, yes.
So, there we go.
Moving on to item number 11, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the 13th amendment of lease agreement between the district and CJJ Farm.
So CJJ Farms is a subtenant on the G3 lease. And we basically have, if you recall, we've been holding them with short-term agreements so that we can easily get out of that arrangement when G3 is ready for to make something happen. This is just a continuation of the process.
Okay, I make a motion that we, approve that. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion second,
Discussion, please.
all right,
Before we approve it, just so that I'm clear, Martin, you did provide a map here. Is it both of those parcels that are split by Foxwood Lane, that whole
So
cube?
he actually has two areas in this addresses, this address both area A is 311 acres. Area, exhibit B is the, G3 property that's bifurcated by Foxwood Lane.
Okay, so I do understand. Okay, so I'm good. Thank
How
you.
much do we get out of that 311 acres?
So this would be, it's right here. So the rent for the 311 acres is $65,426.29 per month. And the rent for the 26.5 acres is $5,573.82. So the total rent, excuse me. It's called an error. It's not per month. Because then it goes, the total annual rent will be about $71,000.12. I just found an error. I think that's per year.
Yes.
is that on the contract?
Shoot,
Should we table that one until,
let's table that,
Alright.
so make sure we do it right.
okay, we'll table that for the next meeting. Moving on to item number 12, authorization for the president to nominate one LAFCO regular special district member. And, waiting for Martin here to, finish up, but this is the same item that we had months ago. Not entirely sure what happened, but LAFCO is coming back and, asking for new nominations. How does that work? We don't have a quote, I would like to be nominated for it, but.
I nominate you.
Well, yeah, that,
You
we have
have
a
a
conference, we don't.
You have a quorum.
We have one.
Yeah, as long as, why don't you,
No, I'm saying-
Mike will
He has
make the
no
motion,
changes.
I'll second, and then
I make the motion to nominate you to LAFCO.
I second that nomination.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor to nominate myself, as the LAFCO, regular special district member?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So I'll go ahead and, work on getting that paperwork filled out.
And the deadline's due January 2nd.
Okay. Get it to you soon. With that being said, let's go ahead and take 5 minutes for closed session before we, go into closed session.
Should talk about our significant litigation.
Because
We exit closed session with reportable actions.
Thank you. In closed session, the board voted unanimously to deny the claim dated 11/4/2025 filed by Lee Hilton.
Thank you. With that, we move on to the last item, item number 14, director's comments. Let's go ahead and start with Michael.
Well, we just passed 11/11/25, which was Veterans Day. And it's a very significant day in my mind because we couldn't be doing what we're doing if it wasn't for the veterans of the United States of America. So through a veterans celebration and we served up about 2,000 plates of food. While I was standing there in line, I was pumping everybody. You need to get on board that American Airlines. Let me tell you, and I think I must have spoke to at least 1,000, 1,500 people. If If anybody's ready to get out of here, let's go to the airport, get on American Airlines. American Airlines is at the airport? Yes, they are. I heard about that, we're gonna be on that, so prior to that, I was on the, 2 weeks prior to that, I believe I was on the radio with, Ben Hayes. And all we're doing is talking about the airport, and I brought up, and I said Tom's story, and I said, I know a gentleman that got off the airlines in San Luis Obispo, and he told everybody about it, and they didn't even know. Well, that free parking sounded really good right now, because that's just a lot of money they're spending. And so, getting the word out, I know the word's getting out, and I know it's gonna pick up. And I know American Airlines is gonna love this, and they're gonna double down and bring over more airlines, and we're just gonna keep growing. And talking about the business district and how we're gonna grow that business district is exciting, because that's just money on top of money for everybody. The state, the city, the airport district, the new people that are coming in with the businesses that we're gonna make, the new jobs. That's just a win-win all the way around. And he says maybe June of 2027, we can get an approval to get building. Wow. And we've been sitting on that for 20 years because of one thing or another. But now we're here, now we got a collective group right now, and we're gonna make something happen before we leave. I think that's a win-win all the way around. So, and the bottom line is, we're heading in the right direction. I'm really happy for it. And so now we're gonna keep on moving in that direction. So that's all I've got to say.
Michael Foote has seen me a number of times make announcements about the flight. And Michael asked me if I would speak at the Reach. I told him that I was going to focus on American Airlines and the new flight schedule. And he asked me if I would be willing to repeat some of the same things that I said out here. So that's my plan. I'm glad you're there, Martin, because if there's, obviously I'm only going to speak about those things that I'm very fluent on. The rest of the stuff that has to be deferred back to Martin. Also, through Martin, I'm attending the Econ Alliance meeting. Same thing. Vicki Connor's going to give me an opportunity to advertise again for the American Airlines flight. So I'm taking advantage of every opportunity that I have, getting the word out. And it's not just, people need to see it, they need to hear it, but they need to hear it multiple times, over and over again. And since the inaugural flight, I've been talking to Michael Boyer about 3 times a week, every other day, pushing. And he didn't send me the information. I got the information through the normal channels. So I'm very happy to see that the Chamber of Commerce is doing a lot to help us right now. I also know that there's a lot of activity going on in Phoenix to get people to fly from Phoenix. Like, we keep thinking of flying from Santa Maria to Phoenix, but there's people in Phoenix that need to come here for tourism reasons as well. So we've got efforts going on there with their chamber, as well as the things that the airport is doing. And Michael, I want to say thank you for what you do on Veterans Day. I have father, brother, and I have 2 girls right now that are in the United States Navy. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and that's it for my comments.
I guess the only comments that I have are, everybody please fly local, and if you see a tank driving around Main Street, that's all I have for today. So with that being said,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, I'll second that. Oh, wait, 2 seconds. Motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Stay out of the